Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy video, the final one of the season as we prepare for Matchday 13. With this team selection video, I'll be talking about my 5 proposed transfers for the final, my Matchday 12 performance, the second leg of the semi-finals, and much more. Talking about the key stats and the key things to know about Inter Milan and Man City, as well as all of their key assets across both teams. So if you end up enjoying this video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. Check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, channel memberships, Discord server, and the UCL Fantasy League. Thank you very much for your support throughout the entire season. There is still going to be a deadline stream on the day of the Champions League final, so stay tuned for that. And also check out my best wildcard / limitless team video. I made a hybrid of those two squads to produce the best team possible for Matchday 13. But let's get straight into this, starting on my Matchday 12 performance. It was a positive week overall, not a great score, only 66, but it was enough to see a green arrow to around 3,000 in the world. Onana kept a clean sheet on the Tuesday, so I didn't have to sub on Thibaut Courtois, who I didn't expect anything from against Man City at the Etihad. So Onana did the job, a 1-0 victory for Inter Milan over their fierce rivals, and they ended up winning 3-0 on aggregate, and they've only conceded in one game in the knockout stages, which was against Benfica in a 3-3 draw. Inter Milan have been terrific defensively in the knockout stages. They need another mammoth performance at the back in order to beat Man City in this Champions League final. Darmian and DeMarco also did a really good job, both with 7 points each, whilst Ruben Dias got the clean sheet as well and got a 6-pointer. So really good stuff from my back line. Things got a bit shakier though in the midfield and the attack. So Kevin De Bruyne did very well, 2 assists, whilst Calhanoglu got some ball recovery points and got another 6-pointer. Vinicius Jr. and Gundogan though, pretty underwhelming and disappointing, but still could have been worse. And then you look at my other midfielders like Valverde and also Tomori and Eder Militao, the other defenders, not too great, but those starting defenders did very well. Kevin De Bruyne and Calhanoglu too. Gundogan, Vinicius Jr. and Benzema though, the biggest disappointments of this match day, but everyone else returned. And obviously Erling Haaland is another one who, in a 4-0 victory over Real Madrid, didn't produce a single goal or assist, and he has a really poor record in the semi-finals and finals, which I talked about in the best wildcard / limitless team video. Lautaro Martinez though, he got the man of the match award and the goal. I captained him for a 16-pointer. I decided to keep the captaincy on him, and that 8-pointer was a solid score. I always said this in the latter stages of the competition. Once you get 6, 7, 8 points from your first captain, there's no real need to change it unless you're absolutely certain that a player on the next day with a really good fixture can do extremely well, like an Erling Haaland, a Vinicius Jr., a Kevin De Bruyne. I was tempted and I was considering Kevin De Bruyne or Erling Haaland for my captaincy, and only De Bruyne outscored Lautaro Martinez, and it's only by a single point. So not too many regrets there. I captained one of my highest scoring players. I only had 4 players blanking in my starting 11. I got a green arrow. The score itself isn't particularly great, but still a solid job, and I need another performance like this, another match day with a similar amount of points to get that green arrow on the final day. I typically don't do very well in the Champions League finals because I tend to back a certain team, like Man City against Chelsea a few years ago. Chelsea end up winning it. I benched a few players like Kante who get 5-pointers. So I need to be very careful about this and get the starting 11 spot on, as well as the captaincy. If I can do that, then I will secure another green arrow and a strong end to the Champions League season, and hopefully I can creep into the top 2k somehow. It's still possible. There's not many points separating these ranks, but it will be very difficult. It's very competitive, and at this point there won't be much separating our teams like it was early in the competition when things were even more interesting. But let's now talk about my team heading into Matchday 13 without using any transfers, and at the very end I'll talk about my transfer plans for the final. With 6 eliminated players and only 4 Man City assets, I've got quite a lot of work to do, but luckily enough I've got 5 free transfers to sort things out, and not like in earlier rounds of this competition, the semi-finals, quarterfinals, etc. You don't need a 50-man squad per se. You just need a starting 11, because we get the lineups, of course, before the deadline. You can see who's starting, put your starting 11 of the best players possible, and that's all you need, because those on your bench aren't going to come on. You can't make substitutions because the game's going on, and you can't retrospectively change things like that. The same goes for the captaincy, so you've got to nail it down, the starting 11 and the captaincy. It's very important to do so, and I think team structure will play a big part of it. Do you go for 4 defenders? Do you go for 5 midfielders? Do you go for 2 or 3 strikers? Those are going to be big questions heading into this Champions League final, and it really depends on how you think this game is going to go. I think both teams could score, and that's why I will be opting for a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 formation, depending on the starting 11s that we get. So if someone like Lukaku starts, I could go for him and then go for 3 strikers, 4 midfielders, and 3 defenders. But I could still change my mind depending on the lineups themselves. I might get a different perception of how the game's going to go. It could be a bit more defensive, and therefore I might go for 4 defenders in the end. But currently I've got Onana in goal, and to be honest, I don't need to make a goalkeeper transfer. So as much as Ederson's been fantastic in this season's Champions League, the least goals conceded of any goalkeeper, the second most clean sheets, I think Onana is good enough, and I want to prioritise outfield transfers in the forward line, the midfield, and also the defence, just in case. And I'm going to have some players on my bench after using my 5 free transfers, but that's fine. It's good to have that luxury. In the end, it won't matter, though, unless someone in your starting 11 doesn't play a single minute. But if you see the lineups, if you're able to, then that shouldn't be any issue, and it won't play a part whatsoever in what happens. But I've got Onana, DeMarco, Ruben Dias, Darmian, Kevin De Bruyne, Çalhanoğlu, Gundogan, Lautaro Martinez, and Erling Haaland. So I've got 9 players available. That's not too bad. I can easily get to the starting 11 and also get a few other players on my bench. And that's where the benching dilemmas, the selection headaches, the team structure will play a big part in the final days of how I'm going to set up and trying to nail that down, get the best possible team structure to do very well in the Champions League final. So let's now talk about my 5 free transfers and what I'm looking to do. There are quite a few different options despite only having 2 teams available now, but I still have a few conundrums that need to be solved. As things stand, I'm looking to bring in John Stones, Akanji, Bernardo Silva, Barella, and Lukaku. A lot will depend on the starting 11s we get. So if Lukaku is in the starting 11, I will definitely buy him and possibly even start him. But if he is on the bench, then he might not even come in at all, to be fair. But honestly, it's all a question of the starting 11. That's the most important thing. I'll have 14 available players and 11 of them have to start. I know Onana will, but the other 10 are definitely up in the air. Now, there are some essential players, in my opinion, for the Champions League final. Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, probably a DeMarco, Ruben Dias, and maybe Lautaro Martinez. But the rest is malleable, and it's all down to a differential that you might want to take a punt on. Maybe even a Gundogan, a Bernardo Silva, a Rodri could come up with a Champions League final goal. Who knows? And he's also very good for ball recovery points as well. So I'm currently favouring a 3-5-2 approach, but like I said, it all depends on the lineups. So I'm looking to go for Onana in goal, Ruben Dias, possibly John Stones alongside DeMarco as my back 3, then a midfield 5 of De Bruyne, Çalhanoğlu, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and Barella, and then Erling Haaland and Lautaro Martinez up front. But if Lukaku starts, I might go for him instead of Barella in the starting 11, and I'm even open to going for 4 defenders and also bringing Akanji to the starting 11 as well. Now, I want to mention a few other things before we talk about the captaincy and wrap up this video, and those are some other key stats and things to know about Inter Milan and Man City. I've already mentioned quite a lot of key stats in the best wildcard / limitless team video, but I wanted to show some even more stats and key facts about Inter Milan and Man City, which could help you with your decision making. So Inter Milan have won 11 of their last 12 games across all competitions, and they've only lost once in that time, which was to Napoli, the Serie A champions, of course. They won the Coppa Italia final against Fiorentina. Lautaro Martinez scored a brace in that game to mount a comeback. They were 1-0 down inside a few minutes, but they managed to secure that trophy. If they get their hands on the Champions League title as well, that will be a historic double for Inter Milan. And there's also a few other things to note, which I mentioned in the other video. The fact that Inter Milan have only lost to Bayern Munich both times, of course, in the group stages, but in every other game, of course, they remain unbeaten, and they also have only conceded against Benfica in the knockout stages, and in every other game they've managed to keep a clean sheet, which is very, very impressive to say the least. Their last game of the season was against Torino away, and it was Brozovic who scored, assisted by Lukaku, so they've ended the season very strongly. Man City, you could say on the other hand, haven't, but they already secured the title, started rotating and started dropping points as a result. DeMarco has 5 Champions League assists, which I mentioned in the other video as well, only behind Kevin De Bruyne, and he's joint second with Vinicius Jr. But with Man City, the stats, oddly enough, aren't as impressive, but they are on course for a historic treble. So Man City in the last 2 Premier League games drew and lost, of course, but before that, they were on a terrific run. Their unbeaten run actually stretched to 25 games, 20 wins and 5 draws up until the Brentford game, where they got their first loss since, I think, the 5th of February, something ridiculous like that, when they lost to Tottenham Hotspur early that month. And they also, of course, like I said, have got a historic Premier League and FA Cup double, one more away from securing that historic treble there and matching the local rivals, Manchester United. But Man City and Inter Milan, we've got two great teams in the final, one surprise package in Inter Milan, and one team that's always the favourite every single year that we go into the Champions League. And I think they will do it this time, of course. Football is full of surprises, but I think Man City will do the job, and that's why I would go for more Man City players if you were to back a certain team in UCL Fantasy, and that's why I'm even open to the idea of going for Onana in goal, Ruben Dias, John Stones, and also possibly a Kanji, and go for that maybe back three entirely of Man City assets and have Onana as the defensive coverage for Inter Milan. And unfortunately, that would mean benching DeMarco, which I'm not too comfortable with because, as I said, he's one of the highest scoring defenders in the knockout stages and also has the most assists of any defender this season. And then I could drop someone like Barella instead. But it all depends on the lineups. That's why I encourage you to join me for the Champions League final and the deadline stream that will take place on Saturday. That's where we can react to the lineups and then finalise our starting 11s and the captaincy. At the moment, I'm going for Kevin De Bruyne. It's very close between him and Erling Haaland. Because I'm backing Man City, I will go for an attacker here. I think Man City could concede, but they'll still win by 2 or 3 goals. And look, you never know. It could go to extra time and penalties. And as a result, we won't get many UCL fantasy points in general. That would be a disaster, but it also might be very entertaining just as a neutral, watching the game and enjoying it as much as we can. So that's it. We've covered the best players to buy ahead of the Champions League final using free transfers. If you want to see the best 50-man squad on the Limitless/Wildcard, then check out that video that I made recently and tune in for the deadline stream where everything will be clarified and all these 50-50 calls will be decided. We can help each other out in the community. There's a lot of people in the live chat always in UCL Fantasy streams, so thank you very much for that. You can also help each other out. I'll provide my opinions and we can also maybe give each other some ideas or going for some differentials that could make the final difference and push us up to the rank that we're ultimately chasing to wrap up this season in the best possible way. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 300 likes. Let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, channel memberships, Discord server, and the UCL Fantasy League. All of that is there. Thank you very much to all the patrons, channel members, subscribers, those that like the video and engage in the conversation, not only in videos, but also in the live chats and these live streams. Thank you very much for all the support, and I'll see you very soon for the Champions League final.